Liberty University sits on 7,000 acres in Lynchburg, Virginia. Over 100,000 students are enrolled. Its endowment is north of $2 billion. It is one of the largest Christian universities on the planet, built from nothing by one of the most influential preachers in American history. Jerry Falwell Sr. started it in 1971 as Lynchburg Baptist College, operating out of borrowed classrooms with a handful of students. He grew it into a national institution while simultaneously building the Moral Majority, the political organization that helped put Ronald Reagan in the White House. Falwell Sr. didn't just build a university. He built a movement that reshaped the relationship between evangelical Christianity and American politics for decades. On May 15, 2007, Jerry Falwell Sr. died at his desk inside his office on that Lynchburg campus, and the empire he built passed to his son. But his son was never a pastor. He was a lawyer, and 17 days in the summer of 2020 would prove that difference mattered more than anyone imagined. Jerry Falwell Jr. was born in 1962, and he grew up inside the institution his father built from the ground up. But he did not follow his father into the pulpit. He went to the University of Virginia School of Law, earned his JD, and spent 20 years practicing as Liberty's attorney and in private practice. When his father died, he stepped into the role of president and chancellor, not as a spiritual leader, but as a businessman who happened to run a Christian school. And honestly, the business side worked. Under Falwell Jr., Liberty University transformed. The campus in Lynchburg saw massive construction projects, new academic buildings, athletic facilities, a Division I sports program. But the real engine of growth was online education. Liberty became one of the biggest online universities in the country, pushing enrollment past 100,000 students. The endowment ballooned past $2 billion. Falwell Jr. took a school that had been financially struggling and turned it into one of the wealthiest universities in America. The people around him credited his legal and business mind. He understood revenue streams, enrollment pipelines, and brand positioning in ways his father never needed to. Liberty was not just a Christian school anymore. It was a financial empire. But running a $2 billion institution is one thing. Being the moral authority over a student body that signs an honor code prohibiting sex outside of marriage, that is something else entirely. January 2016, Falwell Jr. made the political move that put him on the national stage. He endorsed Donald Trump for president. This was not just any endorsement. This was the son of the founder of the Moral Majority, the man whose father had essentially invented the concept of the evangelical voting bloc, publicly backing a thrice-married casino owner in a Republican primary, full of more conventionally religious candidates. The backlash inside Liberty's own community was immediate. A longtime board member resigned in protest. Students organized and published a public statement expressing their disappointment. Falwell Jr.'s response was to compare Trump to his own father, calling them both men who spoke their minds regardless of criticism. The endorsement worked politically. It helped legitimize Trump with evangelical voters, and it cemented Falwell Jr. as one of the most politically connected evangelical figures in the country. He visited the White House. He sat on advisory boards. He was mentioned in conversations about potential cabinet roles. But 4 years earlier, something had already happened in Miami Beach that would eventually undo all of it. In March of 2012, Jerry and Becky Falwell vacationed at the Fontainebleau Hotel on Miami Beach. At the pool, they met a 20-year-old attendant named Giancarlo Granda. What began at that hotel pool would become a 6-year entanglement that Falwell spent nearly a decade trying to keep buried. According to Granda's account, later published by Reuters with supporting evidence, including audio recordings, emails, and text messages, Becky Falwell began a sexual relationship with Granda. Jerry Falwell Jr. was aware from the beginning. Granda said Falwell would sometimes watch, either in the room or through a camera. The relationship continued from 2012 through 2018. During that time, the Falwells went into business with Granda, purchasing a youth hostel in South Beach and giving him a financial stake. Meanwhile, back in Lynchburg, Falwell Jr. was enforcing Liberty University's honor code, the same code that prohibited students from having sex outside of marriage, required modest dress, and restricted alcohol consumption. Former Trump fixer Michael Cohen later claimed he had been asked by Falwell to help destroy compromising photos of the Falwells that were held by a third party. The Falwells were reportedly terrified of exposure. The cracks in the facade started showing publicly in 2019. Politico published a major investigative piece revealing that Falwell's management style at Liberty had blurred the lines between university business and personal enrichment. The article documented property deals that benefited personal associates, including a reported deal selling an 18-acre athletic facility on Liberty property to a 23-year-old personal fitness trainer who had recently graduated from Liberty. But the detail that traveled fastest was something else. Multiple sources told Politico that Falwell had shown or texted intimate photos of his wife, Becky, to male confidants, including at least one Liberty employee. A former senior university official described Falwell as someone who was vocal about his personal life. Another recalled a car ride where all Falwell wanted to talk about was his private life with his wife. The Politico story raised questions, but Falwell survived it. He denied the most damaging claims, threatened legal action, and Liberty's board stood behind him. Then came the summer of 2020. On August 7th, Jerry Falwell Jr. posted a photo to Instagram from a yacht. In the image, he stood next to a young woman identified as his wife's personal assistant. His pants were unzipped. He was holding a dark-colored drink, and his shirt was pulled up, exposing his stomach. For the president of the largest Christian university in America, it was a bizarre image to share publicly. The photo went viral within hours. Liberty University placed Falwell on an indefinite leave of absence. He went on a radio show and tried to explain it away, saying the woman in the photo was pregnant, and he had unzipped his jeans and pushed out his belly as a joke to match hers. 16 days later, the real story broke. On August 23rd, the Washington Examiner published a statement from Falwell, admitting that his wife Becky had engaged in what he called a brief affair with a former business partner. He claimed the man was now trying to extort the family. The very next day, August 24th, Reuters published Giancarlo Granda's full account. The affair was not brief. It lasted 6 years. Granda provided receipts, audio recordings, emails, and text messages. He described Falwell's direct involvement. He had sent Falwell a text message that read, "Revenge is coming soon. I am taking everyone down with me, with my side of the story." August 24th, 2020 was one of the most chaotic days in the history of American evangelical institutions. Falwell agreed to resign from Liberty University. Then he withdrew his resignation. That same evening, he resigned again. On August 25th, Liberty's board officially accepted his departure. From Instagram photo to resignation. 17 days. one of the fastest leadership collapses in the history of any major American institution, religious or otherwise. But the story did not end with the resignation. In October 2020, Falwell sued Liberty University for $40 million, claiming defamation and breach of contract. He dropped the lawsuit 2 months later. Then Liberty turned around and sued Falwell for $40 million for breach of fiduciary duty, alleging he had failed to disclose the affair and what the university described as personal impairment by alcohol. The legal war dragged on for years. In 2024, Liberty was ordered to pay Falwell $15.3 million in a settlement related to his resignation. Think about that for a second. The man whose private life violated every rule his institution enforced on its students walked away with a $15 million check. Meanwhile, a separate allegation surfaced. Becky Falwell was accused of performing a sexual act on a former Liberty student in 2008 when the student was 22. She denied the claim. 50 Liberty alumni signed a public letter calling for independent investigations into the university's leadership culture during the Falwell era. The Hulu documentary God Forbid, released in 2022, told the full story from Granda's perspective and brought the scandal back into public conversation. Liberty University is still trying to rebuild. They have implemented new transparency policies. They have tried to distance the institution from the Falwell name. But the online enrollment machine that Falwell Jr. built continues to generate revenue, and the campus he expanded still bears the marks of his tenure. If you are following this story closely, hit subscribe. We cover institutional collapse inside the biggest churches and Christian organizations in America every week. The honor code at Liberty University is still in effect today. Students still sign it. They still agree to standards of personal conduct that prohibit sexual activity outside marriage. The buildings on campus still carry the Falwell name, but the dynasty is over. Jerry Falwell Sr. spent 40 years building an institution that shaped American politics and evangelical culture. His son spent 13 years turning it into a $2 billion enterprise, and a pool attendant at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach spent 6 years collecting the evidence that ended it all. Falwell Jr. is reportedly involved in real estate now. He has largely disappeared from public life. The political connections, the White House visits, the advisory boards, all of it gone. The question this story leaves behind is not really about Jerry Falwell Jr. It is about what happens when an institution built on moral authority hands power to someone who was never qualified to carry it. Falwell Jr. had the skills to grow the endowment. He did not have the character to lead the institution, and the gap between those two things is where the whole dynasty fell apart.